What was your worst hotel stay experience and what made it so terrible? My dad went to a hotel once and checked into a first-floor room. He went in the room, put his stuff down, opened the curtains, and a man was hiding there. My dad went, "Excuse me," closed the curtains, got his stuff and left. Went to the front desk to explain that a man was hiding in his room. Turns out the guy had just robbed a place and somehow got into the room with an open window. "Excuse me" is the alpha response to discovering a man hiding in your curtains. Your dad sounds like a boss. I would have screamed like a bitch, lol, excuse me, I've shat myself upon seeing you. I needed to find a hotel in Dayton, Ohio, because of my daughter's gymnastics competition. I read online reviews, and the travel lodge there got good reviews. The price was good too, so I booked it. I had difficulty finding it because it was dark, and their sign wasn't lit. Parking lot was pitch black. Just outside the entrance there were two sketchy guys that looked like they were negotiating a drug deal. Inside the motel lobby was dimly lit with flickering lights. The room was no better. Stained sheets, holes in the bedspread and hair in the shower. The fitness room consisted of a stair stepper that was broken, and an old TV on the ground that was also broken. I told the front desk that I wanted to cancel our reservation. She said, "I don't blame you. This place is gross. I had an interview at Kohl's and hope they hire me so I can quit this place. There are some real sketchy areas there." One of my clients paid to break his daughter's lease when she went to UD because of the violent crime in her neighborhood. There was apparently a very clearly delineated line separating good from bad, and she was one street into the wrong side. Motel 7 in El Paso had a software problem, lost track of occupied rooms. Rather than checking, they issued keys to possibly occupied rooms and waited to see if anyone complained. I twice opened my new hotel room door to find other guests in there. Jesus. I'd expect that kind of unprofessional behavior from Motel 6, but never from Motel 7. If they add cable, they can possibly evolve to a Super 8. District 9 is much better. The prawns there are amazing. I was in a big brand hotel at one of their nicer locations. Got my hotel key card and went to my room. Opened the door and the bed isn't made. I just figure whatever, they forgot to clean this one, I'll just give the front desk a call. Walk past the bathroom and see someone's toiletries sitting on the sink. Then I realize there's 2 suitcases on the other side of the bed as well and people's stuff everywhere. Realize they messed up and go down and get a different room, free upgrade, and half off what I originally was going to pay for my stay. My mom and I had a guy try to enter our room at 3 a.m. Luckily his card didn't work. Poor guy had no idea they just double booked our room and was so apologetic. But there's nothing like waking up to the handle jiggling madly and the audible frustration of a man who's trying very hard to get into your room. That's why I always use the deadbolt at hotels. The bathroom locked from the outside. If you accidentally shut the door all the way, you had to have someone in the room open the door for you when you were done. If you were by yourself, you were SOL until someone came back, or you called the front desk from the bathroom to send someone up. This was pre-mainstream cell phone usage, so you may not have had your phone on you at all times. Needless to say, we got our stay comped. You know, I've seen phones in a hotel bathroom or two. I'm sure this isn't a reason why, but it always seemed weird to me at this point. I like the idea. What if someone breaks in while you're in there too? I mean, not the one you were staying in, haha. You never know what's going to happen if you ever get stuck in there. I haven't been paying much attention lately to hotel bathrooms since I usually take my phone with me, so wondering if it's still a standard feature. On a work trip I was put in the most disgusting hotel room, to the point where I didn't feel comfortable and couldn't sleep. A pile of dirt and dust in the corner that I imagined would take years to accumulate, brown stains on the lampshades, food under the bed, water damage in the pictures in picture frames. The whole room smelled moldy, the hairdryer was sticky, TV remote was sticky and covered in food, stuff all over the walls, hair in the shower, the toilet bowl was stained red, everything felt gross and grimy. Hot water didn't work in my room, cold showers anyone? I felt like a walking zombie that work trip, it felt so disgusting I really couldn't sleep. My co-worker in the next room over, his room door didn't fully shut. And he used the latch at the top to close it. The door was still open a couple inches, and he put a chair in front of the door, and didn't sleep of all that trip either. Edit. The hotel room on my last work trip was much nicer. LOL, I love the folks that always say stuff about how I get to travel a lot for work like I'm going on vacation all the time. I've had a lot of fun times, but between some of the dumps I've been in and getting run ragged for work, it ain't usually what they are picturing. No kidding. I think this particular hotel was arranged through my company 40 plus years ago for accommodations. And the hotel never updated or kept up with repairs, and my company didn't consider changing. I think the upper level management when they visit get nicer rooms, but overall the whole hotel is an absolute dump. Getting stuck in an elevator money. This may be the worst one in here as that is a phobia of mine. If you had been injured or killed, that would be a massive lawsuit for the hotel. Also, the story reminded me of when my best friend got stuck upside down for 3 hours on some ride at Six Flags Astro World when he was like 8. Pro tip. You can't get sued if there's no one left alive to sue. Hence the free night offer, so the elevator can finish the job. I like the way you think. WTF? They just expected you guys to chill in there until the next day? Not call 911 or something? I work at a small hotel. Our elevator is ancient. One time I had someone get stuck there on a Sunday, and the operator from the elevator company told me, "Oh, we'll send someone on Monday if we can because nobody is available." Okay, we don't want to pay someone overtime to fix that on a weekend. I told them. Sure, if anything happens to the guest inside I will be sending the lawsuit your way though, as you are liable for anything that happens to that thing as per the contract. Less than 20 minutes I had a very grumpy technician fixing it. Thank you for doing your job and not asking some poor guest to squeeze through the elevator doors and risk being injured or killed. I stayed at a travel lodge a few years back. Went to get into bed and there was a blood stain on the sheet right in the middle of the bed. Pulled the sheet back and there was a huge puddle of it on the mattress, still wet. Not nice. Not as bad as that but Airbnb I stayed in a few weeks ago. It was just a room in the bottom on someone's house that had 3 other secluded rooms. Was pretty rough even by my standards, but was late so settled in, finally laid down to find the duvet was covered in dry blood. Decided to sleep with just a sheet and heater on high, woke in the middle of the night to a faint or trance, like voice speaking another language non-stop for 30 minutes, probably longer after I fell asleep. First thing in the morning noped out of there. The heater was probably the source of the voice. There's a name for it I don't remember, but constant white noise can take on the sound of familiar things because the brain is trying to assign meaning to the sound. A bathroom fan in a place I was staying in once sounded like I was a few hundred feet away from a massive crowd, all talking and laughing. I used to wake up in college to the fire alarm when it was a mix of my fan and my own paranoia about that thing. Audio pareidolia. What is called when you hear music all the time over white noise? My ENT told me with tinnitus sometimes people's brains try to drown out the noise with something more pleasant like music. I can never make out the words or the songs, but they all sound so familiar. Holy shit, you too? That shit drives me nuts. Drove halfway across Florida and collapsed into bed in an Econo lodge in Crystal River. Notice a funky smell coming from around the headboard. I lifted the mattress and found a used condom. After reading the other post here, I thought for sure you were going to find a dead body, or at least a pool of blood. A pool of dead condoms. I'm far too late to get my own post here, but I know a guy who stayed in a hotel room with a chopped up dead body in the clothes drawers. He didn't learn about it until the FBI called him in for questioning. My BF used to work front desk at a hotel, and he said a couple who stayed there for a few days kept complaining since the first night about a really gross smell that they described as similar to dog shit coming from the bed. Housekeeping went in as soon as they complained and changed all the sheets. They said the sheets looked perfectly clean. They complained again the next morning saying the smell was still there. They offered them a new room. When housekeeping went back and they were asked to move everything around the room to see where the smell was coming from. Turns out whoever stayed there before either had an accident or used a sheet to wipe their ass because they found a bed sheet behind the bed in the room covered in shit. They wanted their deposit money back one way or the other. Sounds like it was a deposit, alright. The toilet overflowed so exuberantly I leaped up to the edge of the bathtub to escape the flow. Then there was the tricky matter of getting from the bathtub to anywhere else without stepping in lake toilet. Edit. That floor flooded so quickly there wasn't even time to walk directly out the door. I wasn't going to stand in a filthy puddle looking for the angle valve. Edit 2. People asked how this predicament ended. In Hollywood adventure movies, heroes swing from tree to tree by clinging to vines while avoiding lurking crocodiles in the swamp below. My escape was sort of like that, except it involved grabbing the top edge of a hotel bathroom door and leveraging that for extra distance in a leap that barely avoided a floating wad of used toilet paper. Not really a bad experience, but once I stayed in a hotel where the hot and cold water feeds for the room were plumbed the wrong way around. The water in the toilet bowl was boiling hot and kind of steam your butt when you used it. A butt steamer is a luxury. I was gonna say some people pay extra for that service. Found the goopster. But seriously, dropping a log into hot water must be otherworldly stinky. My Yelp review would include the words instant shit soup. Williston, North Dakota, in the year 2000. Construction workers showed up at 11 p.m. and began noisily doing work, talking loudly, right outside our room. After I complained to the front desk, they got nasty and pounded on the walls of our room. Why the fuck would they do construction that late? That makes no sense. Sounds like the hotel wanted to do some construction on the cheap. They probably weren't licensed and didn't get any permits and wanted to avoid inspectors. Your first mistake was staying in Williston. The place is a meth-filled shithole. Checked into a casino hotel in Shreveport, Louisiana. Put our stuff in the room and then went to the casino. Came back hours later and could not get into our room. Traipsed to the front desk to find out why the card key was not working. Was informed that our room had to be exterminated due to an infestation. When I inquired what type of infestation, I was told that the desk clerk was not allowed to divulge that information. Got hotel manager and he led us back to our room, let us in and the place was tossed. Furniture overturned, mattress off of bed, etc. There was out luggage and belongings pretty much where we left them. Manager then took us to our new room and gave us the key cards for it. I asked how the hell do you check someone into a room, then discover it is infested with whatever? He was unable to adequately answer my question. I asked him about what type of extermination chemicals they used because our stuff had been exterminated as well. He again could not comment. Wound up throwing out any consumables, didn't wear anything from our luggage and checked out early the next morning, never to return again to that hotel. When we got home, washed everything in the hottest water available. As an aside, itched for a couple of days afterward, but this was probably power of suggestion. Went to a historic hotel in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Walked in the room, blood everywhere. The bathtub, the curtains, the walls, floor, lamp, everywhere. Hotel refused to move us. We moved ourselves to a different hotel that night. Did they have an explanation as to why there was blood everywhere? They were unaware blood was in the room. They offered to send a maid to clean it. I encourage they consider a CSI team instead. It makes you think how many times they prefer to clean it up instead of calling the cops. Sounds like bedbugs they wouldn't divulge because they didn't want to read about it in your Yelp review. Right, but I'm amazed they said anything at all, if that was the case. Typically, they'd say, there was a problem, we are switching your room. By the time they say, oh, there's an infestation, they've said too much. Which is probably exactly what happened. The desk clerk offhandedly responded, then realized they'd said too much and clammed right up. And the craziest part is that ain't gonna do shit against bedbugs. If you don't fumigate the building with a full building wrap, those bugs are there to stay. I stayed in a hotel on the Strip in Vegas for a conference a few years ago. Was talking to my wife on the phone while getting ready for dinner and had to tell her, honey, got to go, I think I just found wet blood in my room. Called the hotel and they said they'd send someone up to look at it. I pointed out what I had found a drop on the frame of the dresser. He took it apart and someone had bled all over this thing and all they had done to clean it was wipe off the surface. The frame around every drawer had puddles of blood. They neither moved me nor reimbursed me. Unfortunately, it was the same hotel where the conference was held, so I was kind of stuck. I generally only leave good reviews online when I really like a place. This would be the first situation where I would be like, hey, this is what you need to do, otherwise I will be posting a review with pictures online. Happened over Christmas time in China. Came back to the hotel after dropping my boyfriend off at the airport, so was clearly not in the best mood, only to find a lot of my belongings moved around the room and items missing, including my passport. There was food that she moved into the bathroom, my deodorant was in the shower, and my shower gel was on the TV cabinet. Things were taken out of my suitcase and other items were put into my suitcase, jewelry was on the floor, etc. Just really random stuff had been moved. I had to go to reception and try to speak Mandarin. I was studying and explained the situation. My passport was the main issue and I managed to get it back, but I had gifts from my mom that were thrown out. Turns out the cleaner had taken my passport with the sheets to the laundry room, which is crazy as it was actually in a cupboard, no safe available. Checked out 2 weeks early and got a refund for all the missing items as she admitted to throwing them away, but she wouldn't say anything about why she had gone through my things or why she had moved anything. She didn't throw your stuff away. She took it. And she would have given your passport to some nefarious people too. Went to an MTG tournament in Baltimore, stayed in a Motel 6 because we couldn't get our shit together and get a room at a decent hotel sooner. The place was about a block from the light rail, which went right to the convention center. That was about the highest point of the whole trip. Apart from food poisoning and my binder worth a few thousand getting stolen, the room had a decided dip in one corner where I'm sure the floor was rotting away. When it rained, the bathroom started to leak through the light fixture and our bonehead roommate put all the towels underneath it instead of, I don't know, the garbage can. Which meant we couldn't dry off too well the second day. I know it was more or less our own fault for not acting faster before hotel prices jumped, but the place was a shithole even by Motel 6 standards. I once stayed in a motel where the back third of the room sagged a foot or more. I caught an Uber to my Airbnb, which was a little guest house next to the host's main house in Florida. I guess they were confused about hearing a car pull up but seeing an empty driveway. I was confused because they forgot to put toilet paper in the bathroom. We were both confused when they walked into the guest house to see me butt naked walking across the living room to get some paper napkins from the kitchen. We, of course, both rated each other 5 stars. This is amazing, and I am so sorry. Did they forget that they booked you? They were both naked, both looking for toilet paper. I paid like $300 a night to stay at a fancy hotel for work in Park City, Utah in the summer for a conference. They put me in this room with a kitchen and the living room and so many doors. Like 4 closed doors. So I go to open one and it's locked. And the next one is locked. All of them are locked. And then I realized there is no bed. Not even a couch bed. Just a couch. They literally gave me a room that didn't have a bed. It was the adjoining living room for other hotel rooms. And I checked my reservation and it said I booked a room with a bed. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone when I went to the lobby and asked where was my bed at my hotel, and they didn't see the problem. It took almost 3 hours to get it sorted while I'm arguing that paying for a hotel is for the bed. I'd think that a bed would be number 1 on the list of things needed for a hotel room. 1. Bed. 2. Locking door. 3. Lights. At the peak of Comdex's popularity in Las Vegas, I got stuck at the Tropicana. In those days, the infrastructure in Vegas couldn't handle the Comdex influx. My flight landed at midnight, but it took me until 4 a.m. to get to the hotel and wait through a 300-person line at the front desk. When I finally collapsed in my bed and entered that hazy, almost asleep state, it occurred to me that I was wet. Why should I be wet? I thought hazily. Then my eyes snapped open. I should not be wet. I jumped out of bed and pulled the covers back to see that piss had soaked out of the mattress and the sheets were soaked and yellow with it. Clearly the maids had realized that the previous guest had pissed the bed, as they had placed a towel under the fitted sheet. So, yeah, I had been lying in someone else's piss. BTW, this was my second room, as the first room they gave me a key to was occupied by a startled man in his tidy whities. The hotel had mandatory valet parking for guests. Guests couldn't park their own cars in the hotel's garage. Visitors had to use numbered parking spots assigned by the attendant. When Dad retrieved his car from valet parking, several things had been stolen, including his golf clubs from the trunk, even though the hotel maintained that the car had been locked and was secure in their parking garage. Similar thing happened to me once, except I was able to sneak in through a hidden entrance and park in a general parking area. Valet attendants surrounded my car and demanded I leave my key with them, even though I was technically in the non-valet portion of the parking deck. Came back to my car a few hours later to find it unlocked with the key inside. I stayed at a super shitty motel in New Jersey because I wanted to go to a concert but didn't want to drive home in the middle of the night. This place was a dump. The complimentary breakfast was a plate of stale bagels and coffee from a coffee pot that clearly hadn't been cleaned in years. Our door had dents in it from someone kicking it in. Everything smelled weird. My favorite part was the couple arguing in front of our door at like 6 in the morning. I'll never forget waking up to "Diane, you bitch, I love you, Diane." The most important thing is that you know two things. Diane is loved and she is a bitch. So there's hope for me still. The air conditioner was spitting out ice while I was sleeping. Woke up thinking I wet myself, but then realized half the bed was soaked. Other than that, it was fine. Edit. Holy shit, thanks for all the updates. First time I've had more than 10. Why is this so funny to me? Also, how cold was that damn AC? An air conditioner that is low on coolant will ice up like that. This is such a weird thing. Low on coolant equals extremely cold. Honeymoon in Key West. We were moved to 3 different rooms in the 5 days we stayed there because of palmetto bugs, aka giant cockroaches. We've stayed in Florida many times before and rarely had an issue, so the extent of this infestation was a shock. The bugs got into our food that was stored in the fridge and were swarming on the sheets at night. Not sexy to wake up next to your new husband and 33 long bugs. All the hotel did was send someone with a can of Raid at 4 a.m. Not cool. They lied about comping the room too, which thankfully we checked up on and got in writing before we left. The manager also threatened to make him my husband pay if we dared write a bad TripAdvisor review. It's like he is challenging you to do it. A hotel in England. The building was built pre-plumbing. The room had a plastic all-in-one enclosed bathroom dropped into a corner of the room to bring it up to modern standards. The toilet was clogged and overflowed. The all-in-one enclosure had no floor drain and a lip of about 6 inches high, so the floor was soon swimming in inches of sewage. And to top it off, remember when I said that this building was built before indoor plumbing? Their solution was to jet the sewage from a pipe sticking outside of the building wall into a sewer grate on the road below. This open pipe and the sewer grate were located below our window. Edit. I just remembered the name of the hotel. It was the Montague. I just looked it up and it's a 4-star hotel that boasts of its Georgian character. Georgian character with Tudor plumbing.
Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Tell me what you dislike or love about this video, so please comment below and hit the bell icon so you're notified anytime a new video is released. This is a WeCrow Media production.